Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Marketing Your Practice podcast, the podcast where I have the pleasure of simplifying the marketing and the mindset so you, the chiropractor, can increase your income, your impact, and your enjoyment in practice too. In today's episode, we're going to be diving into the timeless wisdom of Stephen Covey in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We're going to do this with a little bit of a twist, though. We're not just going to be exploring these habits, but I'm going to be relating them specifically to you as the chiropractor to help you unlock the full potential of your practice. I'm going to define each of the 7 habits, and I'm going to give you some examples of what it looks like when we get it right with this habit, and then equally what happens when we get it wrong also. Now, to get the most out of this episode, I want you to listen out for the challenges that you're experiencing in practice and perhaps make a note of that habit that needs some work. And I'll give some recommendations at the end there. Now, this book is one that I have read several times. There's not many books that I read over and over again. In terms of Nathaniel Branden's 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. And this is another one, although it's probably been maybe almost a decade since I've read it, and it's more brilliant now than it ever was beforehand. And perhaps this was a book that was written a number of years ago, but more relevant now than ever. So let's start with habit number 1. This is what Covey refers to as being proactive. This is taking the wheel of your chiropractic journey. So what does he mean by being proactive? Let me define it. So being proactive means taking responsibility for your life and the actions, okay? It's about initiative. It's about anticipating future challenges rather than just reacting to events as they happen. A proactive chiropractor doesn't wait for opportunities to come knocking. They create these opportunities. In the context of our practice, it involves actively shaping the growth of the practice rather than passively just responding to external circumstances, okay? Being proactive is like being in the driver's seat of your practice rather than being in the passenger seat. Now, we have had over these last 4 or 5 years, a number of circumstances, one of them being a pandemic, that really separated those chiropractors that were proactive in nature versus those that were reactive in nature as well, okay? So, the reactive chiropractor responds to change. They wait for external factors to impact the practice before taking action. This often leads to really rushed and ineffective solutions, okay? There's passive marketing, so we're relying only on word of mouth or inconsistent marketing efforts. We ramp them up when our numbers are low, and when our numbers are good, we forget about it. We're on this constant cycle of it's ups and downs and ups and downs. It's a bit like a roller coaster, really. Reactive management, we see this in kind of, how we deal with our staff. We don't have systems. This results in a reactive approach to how we schedule our practice members, our billing, our collections, our patient care. This is chaos that often exists in behind the practice as well because everything is reactive. We're constantly chasing the ball as opposed to anticipating where it might be, okay? When we're reactive, in essence, we're a victim of circumstances. We see the challenges around us as setbacks. It comes with a sense of powerlessness. We often find ourselves blaming external factors for our practice's shortcomings. So if you feel that you're not succeeding in your practice and you're telling me it's because of your community, it's the other chiropractors in town, you can't find this, you can't find that. If you're in Australia, here it's the registration board. If you find the reason you're not succeeding is a lot because of other people, then there's chances are that you're being reactive. That's what it looks like when things are going wrong. Now, the proactive chiropractor, when things are going right and we get this implemented in our practice here, we anticipate change. We're regularly assessing the market. We're looking for trends. We're looking for, how can we start to get ahead of things? We're constantly looking for opportunities. These might be opportunities in terms of networks and relationships to build. This might be marketing opportunities. We're looking for ways to build a really robust practice before the need even arises. Okay, this is what we're doing. We're not waiting for ourselves to be sick before wanting to be healthy. We're really good at planning ahead. We're implementing systems and processes for effective management in our practice. We're looking for potential bottlenecks as well. And when we're being proactive as a chiropractor too, we really embrace challenges, okay? We view difficulties as opportunities of growth and learning. This idea of being proactive versus reactive could equally be referred to as Carol Dweck's work in terms of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. There's lots of overlays inside of that. When we see things happen We have a choice when we're being proactive to see this is happening for us versus this is something that is happening to us. So if you feel out of control, if you feel like you're not in the driver's seat of your practice, then chances are you're not being proactive, you're being reactive. Okay. In essence, the proactive chiropractor designs their practice future with intention and insight. Okay. So while the reactive chiropractor operates on autopilot, they deal with issues as they arise. Okay. When often the cost of this is practice growth, and many cases, even worse than that, personal well-being tends to kind of end up down the toilet as well. Okay. So as you think through that, as you're reflecting on that, how would you score yourself on habit number 1 being proactive? Let's move into habit number 2, and this is begin with the end in mind. This is all about crafting your chiropractic vision. So what was Covey referring to when he mentioned this as well? He means to start with a clear understanding of your destination. Okay, so it's about knowing where you want to go and then the steps to take you there. Okay, once we define where we want to go, the steps in many cases become self-evident. This habit is about setting long-term goals based on your true values and your mission. And then it's about living by those goals day by day. Okay, so it is that, when we think about the marshmallow test, one of the more famous tests in psychology, do you want 1 marshmallow now? Or if you hold off a little while, I'll give you 2, okay? This, in essence, tests a lot of that because we are going to have a future that we're planning for. And very often that future is not going to be just tomorrow, but it's next year and it's maybe 3 to 5 years out as well. Now, when you get this wrong, when you're not beginning with the end in mind, you have a practice without a clear plan or understanding of what you want to achieve, okay? You offer a random assortment of services without considering how these fit into a cohesive kind of practice philosophy or how they contribute to a really defined patient practice member experience as well. Without concise and clear goals, you'll find yourself swayed by the latest trends. Am I going to jump on TikTok? Is it Instagram that's working now? I hear patient dinners, practice member dinners are working. We're going to find ourselves bouncing all around because, again, we don't have a direction that we're going for as well. You'll struggle with inconsistent branding and messaging. You'll confuse potential practice members. You'll dilute the practice presence in the market as well. You'll make mistakes like if you want to practice around long-term wellness care, okay, maybe that's what you when you're getting it wrong, but you find yourself talking about pain all the time because that's what attracts attention right now, okay? So these are mistakes that we often make. Or you'll do things like you'll be wanting to run a whole bunch of discount ads and then you'll be worried about, hang on, why are none of these people wanting to stay around? Okay, we'll bring people in for one reason, but we haven't thought about where is the outcome that we want to go. Now, nothing wrong at all about discount ads, nothing wrong with talking to people about backaches and pains if that's how you want to position yourself. And Lord knows, we need people focused on that. But is that the destination that you want to be? Now, when you get it right, a chiropractor gets this right, starts their practice by really clearly defining their mission statement. This could be just something as simple as kind of, holistic patient-centered care for families. This is about improving quality of life. Is it about helping athletes? It's about knowing where you want to go. When you get it right, you're setting really smart, specific, measurable goals. And this is that kind of time-bound SMART acronym as well. So when you get it right, every decision that you make, from the services that you offer to the hiring of the staff, is aligned with that end vision as well. So when you get this right, you spend time visualizing the practice growth, the practice outcomes, the role that you want to have in the community, and you're using this vision as literally a magnet to pull you forwards as well. Now, a little while ago, not too far back, we did an episode with Tony Ebel. It's episode 330, and Tony is one of the more gifted people I know in our profession. In fact, not just our profession, out there with regards to getting this sorted. Every decision that he makes is this beginning, making sure that he's really clear in terms of with the end in mind. Where do I want to take this business to? And so much of it is around, making a difference to families in his community and in the world as well. So he's a real whiz with this. So if you struggle with this, go back and listen to episode 330. Okay. So when you begin with the end in mind, you'll ensure every choice is, as I mentioned before, is all about getting to that ultimate goal there as well. This habit tends to create a sense of purpose and direction. Okay. This is absolutely essential for sustained growth and success in life, and certainly in a chiropractic practice as well. So Habit number 3, put first things first. This is the big rocks of chiropractic practice. Inside the book, Covey talks about an example here where there was a big jar to fill. Next to the jar, there are several different size rocks, from some big rocks, some middle-sized rocks, some smaller rocks, all the way down to some sand. And the person is asked to fit as many of these rocks as they possibly can. What they do is they get up, they tip the sand in first, and then the little rocks, and then the next rocks. And they get to the end, and the jar is full, and the big rocks are left over. And then he gets up and says, look, the way to actually deal with this is to pop the big rocks in first. They'll settle down to the bottom. Then the next size rocks, they'll fill the gaps. And then finally, when we get to the very end, the sand there too, that'll creep its way kind of in around the spaces that are left. Now, his metaphor for the big rocks is all about doing the important things. This is different from doing the urgent things. We find ourselves, myself included, I find myself working often each week in urgent and not important. Now, the more your life is working towards important things and the less it is working towards urgent things, the happier you're going to be, the busier, the more impactful your community and your practice is going to be as well. But we have to differentiate those. This means sometimes putting aside those things that are urgent and working on the important as well. So Covey's definition of put first things first is about prioritizing the most important tasks. These are the big rocks, okay, in your life and in your practice. It's about managing your time and your energy by focusing on what will drive the most significant results that align with your core values and your long-term goals. This is what we defined beforehand. We're proactive. So these are sequential. They all work together as well. So we started by being proactive. We got really clear about our destination, and then we need to put first things first and ask ourselves, what's going to move the needle towards me getting towards the destination that I'm wrong? Now, when you get this wrong, a chiropractor who doesn't prioritize effectively is going to start the day with emails and administrative tasks. This is the sand and the pebbles, okay? This will very quickly consume your time, okay? Emails can eat up an enormous amount of time, as can social media and as can kind of administrative tasks that somebody else could be doing. You'll end up with little or no time for the critical aspects of your practice, okay? This is patient care. This is business development. These are the big rocks. These are marketing. This is going to lead to a reactive and less productive day as well. Now, you're also going to find yourself constantly rescheduling important tasks because your day is full with urgent but less important matters, okay? Does this sound familiar? I know this does for me. This is a very big one for me and a great learning for me going over this as well. Now, when you get this right, a chiropractor understands this principle, will identify the big rocks in their practice. These might include, as I mentioned before, patient care, getting better results for your practice members, professional development, how do I become a better chiropractor, business growth strategies, of which, marketing and systems are important ones as well. You're going to schedule these big rocks into your calendar first, ensuring that these priorities have dedicated, uninterrupted time as well. So, you might time block out, obviously we've got time for our patient appointments, but you're also setting aside time for strategic planning and to carve out time for continuing education. And of course, self-care needs to be in there as well. So by putting the big rocks in first, you can ensure that your most important priorities are taken care of. This is what's going to get you towards your destination most quickly. This habit is crucial for maintaining balance, reducing stress, and achieving professional and personal goals as well. It's about making the most impactful tasks non-negotiables, okay? Habit number 4 is think win-win. This is about cultivating synergy in our practice as well. So Covey's definition of win-win, this is a mindset and approach that seeks mutual benefit for all human interactions. It's based on the belief that there's plenty for everyone, okay? And that one person's success does not need to come at the expense of another's. This is really important, okay? In a chiropractic context, it means that creating solutions and interactions that are beneficial for both the practice and the patients, as well as any partnerships that you get into. When we get into win-win relationships, okay, they form a foundation of trust. Okay? This means that we increase referrals and retention, enjoyment in practice as well. Now, when we get this wrong as well, when we have a win-lose mentality, we might, for instance, see other local healthcare providers or other chiropractors as competition rather than potential allies, okay? We miss out on the opportunity for cross-referrals, enhanced patient services and experiences. When you're stuck in this kind of win-lose, you might find yourself more likely to implement more aggressive sales or report of findings tactics that are about pushing somebody into care because it's about what's right for you. And we sometimes justify this under chiropractic is good for people. So, by whatever means I can get them to take it on, that's okay. But the damage this happens with this, we'll talk about this in a moment there too, this starts to erode away at long-term relationships. And can we truly know what's best for our patients in the right now? A couple of years ago, I had an issue with a tooth there. It needed a lot of work into it. I went into the dentist and he said, it needs a lot of work. There are a couple of options. We can do a patch-up job now, or we can get the whole thing done. Now, I was in that stage there. I was in the process of moving down to where I am now. I was selling the practice. I was doing a lot of things, and I just didn't have the headspace to have the whole shebang done at that stage. And I said, give me the patch-up job right now, and then I'll come back and get it sorted. Now, had he given me the hard sales and made me feel terrible about it, and no, you're not serious about your health in that stage, I would have got the patch-up job there and never come back. But I got the patch-up job done, and when things settled down a few months later, I went back and got it fixed correctly because he provided the space. He knew what was the win-win at that stage was to give me what I needed, okay, and create a space for me to come back as well. Now, some chiropractors out there, though, are also doing lose-win, okay? They're losing in the process. And this scenario happens when chiropractors are undercharging for their services to keep their patients happy. This happens when we're letting down our boundaries or overstepping our boundaries, caring for people more than what they're caring for themselves. It's a win for the patients, but it's a lose for you as well. Now, when we get this right, though, okay, it's a really sweet spot. When we get it right across multiple areas, we get it right with our associates, we create a beautiful supportive environment that encourages them to grow because if they're winning, we're winning there as well. When we get it right with our reception staff, we involve them in the decision-making process. We offer them for growth because the more amazing person our associates and our front desk staff are, we benefit from that as well. We want to invest into them as well. When we get this right with our patients, when we adopt a patient-first approach, this is the foundation of long-term relationships. It's not just about our success as well. I often, one of the driving forces for me is a Zig Ziglar quote that says, I'll get everything I want in my life if I just help enough other people get what they want. I want to make it a win for you, okay? So when we can make that happen, when we get it right there as well, when we get it right with a community broader, when we engage with the local community, maybe we're offering free workshops, health and wellness service where we're participating in community fates as well. Our practice is known as generous, as valuable, as authoritative as well. We're establishing partnerships with local businesses. Maybe we've got wellness programs. Our reputation is that this is a place of value. Okay. Now, when we do that, we become incredibly magnetic. We differentiate ourselves from most businesses because many businesses are very scarcity minded. They're that reactive. Okay. And they're after the buck. We can sense that as well. But when we're after that win-win, and again, this doesn't have to be at the expense of you. All right. It's important because there are a lot of chiropractors out there that are sacrificing everything, and that doesn't work either. We know that if there's not a fair exchange that goes past, most healthy individuals don't want to be in that type of relationship as well. So in conclusion, by implementing a win-win approach across all aspects of our chiropractic practice, from staff to our practice members to the broader community, you create a really beautiful ecosystem where everyone feels valued and invested in the success of the practice. This not only builds a really positive reputation, but also is going to ensure sustainable growth and a really fulfilling practice environment. All right, let's move on to habit number 5. Seek first to understand and then be understood. This is the key to effective communication in chiropractic practice. This is an area that I think that many chiropractors could really do with some work. And some of this is driven by many of the chiropractic coaches and supporting groups out there. That what we're trying to do is have people understand chiropractic first instead of understanding them. So it's our definition. What was Covey referring to in here? What he was meaning is seek first to understand and then be understood involves a fundamental principle of effective interpersonal communication. In essence, this is listening empathetically. It's about truly hearing what others are saying by seeing things from their perspective before trying to get your own message across. For chiropractors, this means deeply understanding your patient's concerns, needs, and situations before offering care plans, recommendations. Now, I know for me, what this used to look like in the earlier days, I was in a coaching program, and part of the script and routine is when I would sit down with a new patient, the very first things I would say would be, hey, listen, Jen, before we get started today, I want to tell you a little bit about what we do at this practice and why we do it. Now, my intent was great because I wanted her to understand what was going on there too. but I made the initial consultation immediately about me. And there was something about it that didn't sit right for me. It might sit right for you, but didn't sit right for me. And I changed it around because most of us, if you've ever gone to a doctor, a healthcare specialist as well, what you'll understand is that what we tend to do is we rehearse a story inside of our head that we want to get out. And at that opportunity where I had to give somebody that opportunity to share that story, I jumped in and said, this is more important at this moment, is that you understand what I do and why we do it, okay? That was the exact opposite of seeking first to understand. And when we get it wrong, we spend too much time talking and not enough time listening. We rush through consultations. We focus more on our own agenda and assumptions about what the patient needs. This leads to really poor recommendations, misdiagnosis, and patient dissatisfaction. People won't stay around. They won't start care. They won't refer people. We're likely to overlook the valuable input of our staff. We fail to address their concerns effectively because, again, our staff are giving us feedback about what's going on, but we want to say, no, this is why we need it done this way. We're all about wanting to get our side of things out there. It's it's a model of all about kind of out as opposed to coming back in as well. So poor application of this habit is also going to affect business partnerships. So if you're wanting joint ventures and things like that, it'll absolutely get in the way of networking opportunities. We get this wrong by wanting to be right all of the time. Okay, this isn't, not only in practice is important, but any key relationships, and certainly in the intimate relationships that you have with your spouse. Wanting to be right all the time is a sign that you've probably not got this habit now. Now, when you get this right, a chiropractor who excels at this habit is going to spend a significant amount of their consultations listening without interrupting, asking clarifying questions, reflecting back what they've heard to ensure that they've understood correctly. This is relationship building 101. It's really connecting with people. They're going to then use this understanding to tailor their care, their advice, their communication to that specific situation. It's not only going to lead to better outcomes, but it's also going to build massive amounts of trust and rapport. And it's from this foundation here that we can then open a door to show them what's available to them in the chiropractic lifestyle. But we can't do that from the other place, okay? This habit also extends to staff interactions as well. This is not just about, practice members, very much all about staff as well. It's going to foster a really collaborative and supportive work style, okay? So these are all things that we need to be really thinking about inside of seek first to understand as well. By truly seeking to understand before seeking to be understood, we enhance our patient care, we improve team dynamics, we build stronger relationships with our community. This habit is absolutely essential if you want to create a practice that's not only successful, but it's also one that's respected in the community. Okay, I think many of us have a long way to go with this because we're so keen, sometimes just with excitement, to tell the chiropractic story, is that we forget first to understand the person that's in front of us. Okay, let's move on to habit number 6, and this is synergize. This is about creating a whole that's greater than the sum of its part in our chiropractic care and in our chiropractic practices as well. So what Covey was referring to here is about combining the strengths of people through positive teamwork so as to achieve goals and that no one is doing it alone. Okay, well, no one's left behind there as well. It's about finding value in differences and seeking and seeing values in different perspectives, actually looking out for them as well. For us as chiropractors, this means working collaboratively with our staff, other health professionals, and our practice members as well. I mentioned beforehand about Tony Ebel and there too, and there's a lot of things I really admire about Tony. This is one that both he and his beautiful wife, Christina, have in absolute spades, this idea of synergizing. He will often say, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. This is what Covey is saying here, is the importance of synergy, of making sure, Dan Sullivan in his book, Who Not How, is about finding who can do this with me and probably do it better than me, and involving and enrolling a team in around you. When you get this wrong, when you fail to synergize, you're trying to handle all aspects of practice alone. You might find yourself saying things like, if I want a job done properly, I got to do it myself. Or, you're saying things like, it's too expensive to, outsource that. These are the sort of things that chiropractors say when they're not, synergizing. You'll resist collaboration with other healthcare providers due to a fear of competition. There's a scarcity that many chiropractors have that doesn't allow them to really synergize here as well. This means not only will you miss out, but your practice members miss out as well. A lack of synergy also manifests in a practice where staff and practice members are discouraged from contributing ideas and feedback. Are you actually soliciting feedback from people? Are you open to change? Are you open to the idea that when we come together as a team, we can produce something that none of us can on our own there as well? Now, when you get this right, though, okay, magic happens because a chiropractor who synergizes effectively is going to create a beautifully team-based approach to patient care, where each member is a unique cog that contributes their unique skills and knowledge. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing that happens when a team is working in synergy. There are partnerships with other healthcare providers and other businesses in your community there too, where again, you're coming together for the good of not only your practice, their practice, but for the individual as well. So, synergy is also about involving practice members in their care plans, letting them make choices. Again, not trying to be overly responsible and the rescuer. This is a role that we often tend to play. The rescue, we want to be working together. There's a guide, a partnership as well. This will lead to more effective, more personalized care. This will lead to better results and better attention as well. When you embrace synergies, you create a really beautiful, dynamic and innovative practice environment, okay? It's going to leverage the collective talents and the insights of everybody involved rather than it just relying on you as well. This habit is crucial for fostering a culture of continuous improvement and exceptional patient care. Now, some of you will have chosen intentionally to want to practice on your own, no other staff there as well. But this is like not only partnerships inside there with staff, but it also could be, other local businesses, coaches, accountants, people to bring in that allow you to do your magic better, okay? Let them do their magic so you can do yours. The final habit of them, habit number 7, is about sharpening the saw. This is about maintaining and renewing your greatest asset in chiropractic practice. This is you. You're the greatest asset in amongst there, okay? So by sharpening the saw, this means preserving and enhancing all that you have as well, your life force. It means having a balanced program for self-renewal in the 4 areas Covey talks about: physical, social, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So this habit is about personal and professional development here as well. It ensures that you can provide the best care for your practice members because you're taking great care of yourself. Now, when you get this wrong, we neglect self-renewal. Physically, you're going to be more likely to burn out and overwork. There'll be decreased effectiveness in terms of the result that you get with your patients, but also in terms of the way that you kind of show up as well. Socially and emotionally, this will show up as strained relationships, poor communication with staff members, with practice members, if you're not really emotionally well-trimmed. Mentally, you'll fall behind because you're not staying up to date. You're not learning new and cool things. There's a chiropractor that you need to be to take great care of your staff, of your practice members and your community. And spiritually, when you're not sharpening the saw, you'll feel a lack of fulfillment. Okay, so does that sound familiar? I know it does for a lot of chiropractors. There's a lot of you I'm speaking to all the time that are getting this wrong because you're exhausted, okay, and you're not feeling fulfilled. And this is because you're not sharpening the saw. But when you get this right, though, physically, you're engaging in regular activity, you're eating healthy, there's enough rest and movement as well. And there's an energy and enthusiasm. There's a life force that emanates from you as well. Socially, emotionally, there's lots of great relationships, colleagues, staff, practice members, appropriate relationships, of course. You're really good at engaging in active listening, empathic communication as well. Mentally, you're keeping up to date, you're learning, there's continual ongoing education. And spiritually, maybe you're spending time in nature, meditating, God, whatever it is that works for you, but there'll be a sense of connection, purpose. There'll be reason behind what you're doing. There'll be fulfillment that's happening as well. Now, by regularly sharpening the saw, you'll ensure that you're operating at your best. And when you're operating at your best, you can give your best to patients as well. This habit is absolutely essential for sustaining long-term success and fulfillment in both your personal life and your professional practice as well. That's the 7 habits. Let's quickly review them and we'll talk about what next. The first is, remember, habit number 1, be proactive. This is about taking responsibility, okay? The second was beginning with the end in mind. This here was inviting you to define the mission, the vision, the destination for your practice. And then after that, it was important that we put the first things first. That's habit number 3. This is prioritizing our way towards working on important things, not just urgent things. After that, habit number 4 was all about thinking win-win. This is about a collaborative approach to all of our relationships. Most importantly, of course, are the practice members that come and see us on a weekly basis. After that, on to habit number 5, was to seek first to understand and then be understood. Are you really listening to people? Are you connecting with them? Are you understanding what's going on with them first before inviting them into the chiropractic lifestyle? It's only when they feel seen and heard, okay, that they can truly step into what this beautiful kind of chiropractic life of ours. Habit number 6 was all about synergy as well, working together, not trying to do everything by yourself. And then finally, habit number 7 was sharpening the saw, knowing that you're looking after you, your greatest resource in all areas, okay, physically, socially, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually as well, okay. So as we wrap up our journey through these 7 habits of highly effective people and think about the application to your chiropractic practice, you might be thinking, what's next, okay? So here's some things to kind of finish up with as well. Some self-reflection, as I started off with as well. Which of these, when I went through, here's what happens when we get it wrong, what really stood out for you? Take some time to reflect on each of those habits. Does it show up in your practice? What kind of impact is it happening? Where do you need to pay some more attention? And then from there, start to set some actionable goals. Okay, what does it look like? If you wanted to be more proactive, wanting to synergize more, how could you sharpen the saw there as well? Start with small steps. It's always a good spot to start. Add in some accountability, find a coach, support person, a community that you can share your commitments as well. Make sure you commit to continuous learning as well. Keep learning about. There's lots there. Maybe one of the things or steps for you is to actually to read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits book there as well. And don't forget to celebrate wins. Okay, celebrate your wins no matter how small, because this will really kind of keep you on that journey as well. So if you're ready to take your practice to the next level, then the 7 habits will help you get there as well. So as always, folks, thanks for all that you do. Your community needs you implementing these into your practice because it will help you save more lives, make more of a difference as well. Until next time, folks, see you soon. Bye. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out my Community Influencer program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work with you to help you apply it, implement it, and systemize it. The Community Influencer Group Coaching Program is designed to help you increase your practice income, impact, and enjoyment. Join me over at anguspyke.com/join. That's anguspyke.com/join. I'd love to see you there.